right, so on to the important thing. I very much would like to introduce our presenters today. So our first presenter is Corinne Harmon. She is the grants coordinator here at Charlotte Hall Museum. She has been involved in search and rescue since 2005, beginning her search and rescue journey in the Pacific Northwest. She is currently a wilderness first responder with Yavapai County Search and Rescue. She serves on the Search Dog Unit and is a wilderness survival instructor with Arizona Search and Rescue Coordinators Association, which is Arizona's governing body for search and rescue. And also today we have William Bull Pratt. He joined the Yavapai County Search and Rescue Team in 2015, serving in both member and leadership roles in the 4x4 and OHV units, and as a founding member of the Fire Observer Unit. Bull is a retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel. Bull flew the F-4 Phantom and the FA-18 Hornet during his 24-year military career. He is a graduate of both the Naval Fighter Weapons School, also known as Top Gun, and the Marine Aviation Weapons and Tactics Instructor course. He logged over 4,500 hours in fighter aircraft, flew 25 combat missions during Desert Storm, and completed more than 200 career landings. Following his military service, he worked in executive roles in the defense industry before dedicating himself to volunteer service in Yavapai County. And for those of you who are coming in, you probably noticed some of our special guests. We have our Search Dog Unit members. So we have Scout and his handler, Mark Richardson. We have Bucky and his handler, Michaela Pomerany, and we have Tippy and his handler, Blair Burton. So please, everyone, give us a big round of applause for our presenters.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We really, really appreciate it. And before we talk about search and rescue in Arizona, we do have to talk about Arizona. One of the things that makes it so unique is its crazy landscape. From mountain to desert, we have everything in between. And it creates challenges that we don't have in other states or other areas. This is particularly true in monsoon and fire seasons, or in areas where cell phone coverage is completely unavailable. So long before helicopters, radios, or GPS, finding a lost person meant neighbors, ranchers, or townsfolk setting out on horseback or foot, often with little more than a hunch and hope. Survival in the high desert and mountains often depended on these impromptu groups and on the speed of word of mouth. If someone went missing, the response wasn't a 911 call. It was the sound of boots in the dust and riders settling up to search. Arizona's first search parties were search teams, but they weren't called search teams. They were family members, neighbors, ranchers, miners, people who knew the land and each other, and who didn't wait to be asked. These first search parties, sometimes organized into posses, sometimes not, responded when a child disappeared from a homestead, a miner didn't return from the hills, or a traveler went missing in a storm. I just want to point out one thing. This picture is my favorite picture. And the reason, this conversation that they're having in the sand with sticks still happens today. It happens at every training, every search, and every after action report. It's different today. We have cell phones and high-tech stuff, but it's the same conversation, and it hasn't changed. I have another picture later on that I want to show you. Same thing on a Jeep hood. Oops. Turn here. Early SAR culture. Documented search and rescue efforts in Arizona date back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Settlers, miners, and ranchers relied on informal volunteer networks to find lost or injured. Native American tribes also played a crucial role in early rescues, using their deep knowledge of the terrain and tracking skills to locate missing persons. As Arizona's population grew, county sheriffs and their deputies often became the first official responders. These stories are hard to trace today. Newspaper mentions are rare and photos nearly non-existent. But we do know this. These early efforts, informal and instinctive as they were, laid the groundwork for the professional, highly trained search and rescue teams we rely on today. Next is a bragging right for search and rescue. In February of 1890, the newly elected sheriff, Bucky O'Neill, responded to the Walnut Grove Dam disaster, leading search efforts along miles of devastated shoreline to recover the bodies of victims. As quoted in the paper at the time, his tireless dedication in the aftermath of the tragedy earned the respect and gratitude of the entire community.
Strange, I get to talk about airplanes, how that happened. So Civil Air Patrol, World War II is really the impetus for the formation of the Civil Air Patrol in 1941. In fact, on December 1st, 1941, just before December 7th, 1941. It was created nationwide, although in Arizona, it didn't really establish itself until 1952. A very good year, by the way. So going into, next slide there, going into the 50s and 60s, the more established utilization of recreation creates risk. Hunting, off-roading, hiking, picnicking, you name it, in the woods became more and more popular. And as it did, it obviously created more and more opportunities for people like us to be employed, even though we're volunteers and unpaid. But it made the formal search and rescue teams and training and coordination within the teams more important.
From posses to helicopters, Arizona's search and rescue story is still one of community, adaptation, and determination. What began as instinctive, neighbor-driven efforts has grown into a statewide network of specialized teams prepared to respond when the call comes. While Arizona's search and rescue roots began with neighborly instinct and rough terrain, today's teams face new challenges layered on top of that same unforgiving landscape. The state's extreme weather seasons pose incredible risk, but especially fire and monsoon seasons. Both transform Arizona's wilderness into rapidly shifting, high-risk zones, often cutting off access and overwhelming communication systems, and placing rescuers in harm's way alongside those they're trying to save. Oops, what did I do here? There we go.
My turn. So we talked about what fed to the requirements for increased capabilities in search and rescue, ultimately led to the formation of the Yavapai County Sheriff's Response Team, which is comprised of several units. This is by no means the official block diagram. Any YCSO people out there? Sorry, it's not really official, but the way we work straight on down, Sheriff's Office, we work directly for the Sheriff's Office. Forest Patrol divisions comprised of 1 sergeant, 3 deputies, and then we have the various units in here. YCSRT itself, Quad Cities area, focused primarily Prescott and everything kind of to the west, although we do overlap as well with the eastern side. We've got multiple units, 4x4 unit, backcountry unit, which guys that hang from ropes and helicopters and stuff, fire observer team, which I'll talk about more later, the off-road OHV, off-road vehicle unit. Search dog unit, we've got our token canines here.
Represent!
Yeah. Also, we have a geographically separated unit, southern unit down in the Wickenburg area, and we've also got it's not a separate unit, but we do have a newly formed mountain bike capability as well. Over at Verde SAR, I'm not going to go through all these, but very similar capabilities and such. Apologies to Jeep Posse, they're a long-established organization. Very similar capabilities to these two. I just didn't have the official one. I didn't want to get the Posse guys there. I didn't want to make you guys mad, you know, so it's just representative. But also we have the air group here as well, private airplane owners, and they train quite a bit, and we've more and more as time goes by, we tend to integrate with them. In fact, new capability, looking at, by the way, establishing repeaters, radio repeaters in these airplanes. They'll be up flying around and greatly enhance our communications capabilities as opposed to trying to go line of sight, which is really a tough issue. All right, modern technology, we talked about that as well, going from the days of drawing in the sand and then having paper maps, wet compasses, and binoculars. Still use those too. But we've been able to, through technology and just modern times, being able to progress into greater capabilities. But let's go into how does this SAR, the search and rescue operation, work? We're comprised, the response team is comprised of well over 200 individuals located, dispersed throughout these teams that we have. When an incident occurs, typically it's on a 911 call, a loved one at home, hey, my husband didn't show up, he was out hunting, and we're supposed to be back by 6, and here it is 9 o'clock at night. That information is relayed to the deputies section that handles this type of incident. They assess the situation, see where it's at, what type of terrain it is, what type of subject we're looking for, all the moving parts, and they assess who are they going to call, but one unit, multiple units. Typically we'll have a single unit get responded, sometimes two. However, you get a lost kid out there, a 3-year-old walks away from a campsite. It's happened many times. Maybe we know about that one. So they'll do an all hands call. Anybody available, show up now because we can't waste any time. That is pretty much the call out process. What happens, we will assemble, we'll make assignments for what teams or what members of the teams are assigned to respond. They'll proceed out to the location of the IC, the incident commander, typically the deputy on scene, possibly the sergeant or even other higher ups, depending on how intense the situation is. We will then get briefed on what is the latest information, make a specific assignments for search responsibilities, press out and do our thing. Once we come back, we'll talk more about the mission stuff here in a minute, but once we come back, we'll reassemble, debrief, hopefully with a successful search, and basically cut everybody loose to go home. Types of missions that we have, I've kind of alluded to them already. You name it, we've done it. Lost hikers, lost hunters, stranded motorist vehicles, lost vehicles, kids walking away, autistic children, dementia, Alzheimer's patients. What am I missing? You name it. It's all there, and we've done it all. In 10 years, I can't tell you how many times I've been out there on all those types of missions. A lot of times as well, even though, yes, we're Yavapai County, we also are subject to, help me out, what's the? Interagency support, but it's mutual aid with the other counties. We've worked a lot with Coconino County, especially when they have a lost child. Vice versa, they've assisted us at times too. Depends on the geography, where it's at, what it is, and how serious it really is. We've also worked with Maricopa, something in the vicinity of Lake Pleasant, for instance, and some of the other adjacent counties as well. But that's kind of what happens when we get assigned a mission. So modern technology, I've talked about going from paper maps to the latest and greatest. We've currently, and we continue to improve almost every year, new stuff comes along. We have iPads, our favorite device of choice for mapping, for tracking, as far as our own tracks as well. Yes, we do handheld. Yes, we do our cell phones. But we put it all together. VHF radios are still the order of the day. Line of sight, typically handheld, 1.5 to 5 to 10 miles, depending on how flat the terrain is. Handheld GPS, we use those consistent basis. Drones used to be a no-no based on the hierarchy and decisions from higher up. However, as drones these days are very common now and very accepted, we're integrating that into our capability and it becomes much more effective. Latest and greatest satellite communications. We use, we have a couple or three different systems. We've got one Zoleo back there, a little box about yay big. It's a satellite connection. It allows you to have text messaging to anyone that has text capability. back and forth, a tremendous assist in connectivity. We've also got Starlink now. We purchased last year a Starlink for YCSRT. I think we got 2 of them, in fact, and a couple of private guys have them. Mac, where are you? You're back there somewhere. Oh, right there. He's even got one on top of his truck. We use that one too. Works like a champ. And that's, applications as well. So there are a lot of applications out there that we're able to access, that we utilize, that allows integration of mapping capabilities, tracking capabilities, locations and such. It's a whole different world than even when I started just 10 years ago. It was still pretty much paper maps, and that was going to be about it, and a compass on top. It's changed. It's all for the better. Over to you.
These guys. All right, so Bucky and Scout are 2 of our search dogs, as is Tippy. She's over there. Bucky and Scout are purebred dogs. They're born to it, but all of our other dogs are rescued dogs. It's a really cool story. I think I want to dive into that at some point. But Bucky's a Labrador Retriever, and
Walk around.
yeah, go ahead, you guys, walk around, say hi. Scout is a Belgian Malinois, and you can see the bond between dog and handler is incredible. These guys work a lot together, and you can see we do helicopter, we do night training, we do
Hey, I'm surprised you used that picture.
Which one? I love that picture.
And the goggles.
He's got night vision, he's got camera, yeah.
These aren't for bear.
And I'm glad you mentioned that too. Night vision is also a capability that we're beginning to integrate in our different units.
Like.
And of course,
Tippy works for treats. We know
they
that.
all do.
Yes, she's a border collie mix.
I have to talk about the search dog unit itself. We train hard and we play hard. We train every week. And the canine handlers actually train more often than that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's a big commitment, but we love it and we have a lot of fun. Where am I now? Okay. In Arizona, our 2 most dangerous seasons are monsoon and fire seasons. In those events, search and rescue is more than just a response. It's a race against time, terrain, and weather. Let's take a closer look at how SAR teams adapt and respond when wildfires erupt or monsoon rains flood canyons and trails. Or I can knock off this.
All right, the Fire Observer Unit itself, is what I'm responsible for these days, was established back in 2015. I'm going to talk about how that all kind of came about. We've responded to numerous wildfires. Our mission is frankly for the Sheriff's Office, for what we call the IC, the Incident Commander, the Deputy or the Sergeant on site, on scene. We are their eyes on the fire. So when you hear of a wildfire cooking, typically, especially if it's in anything close to the vicinity of personnel or property, structures, etc., roadblocks, we're the guys that go out there on top, try to get eyes on it, and keep them appraised of what's happening. For the Fire Observer Unit, let me talk about some of the last 25 years anyway. Some of the more severe incidents that occurred around here, a lot of you have probably lived through them as well. Indian Fire, 2002, a little bit that way, not very far. 1,300 acres, 7 structures were lost that are adjacent to the city of Prescott. Forced the evacuation of 2,300 members. Dosey Fire, anybody remember Dosey Fire? Right over Yadaway, a few miles out closer to my house. 8 miles north and west of Prescott, near the Granite Mountain Recreation Area. Human cause, consumed 6,732 acres. That's also kind of became famous because the old juniper tree that the Granite Mountain hotshots saved. More on that in just a minute. Yarnell Fire in 2013. A lot of structures were destroyed. 600 people evacuated from towns in Yarnell and Peoples Valley. 200 residential business structures were threatened, and course, the 19 hot shots. I will talk about that in just a moment. Finally, Goodwin Fire. I spent a lot of time on that rascal. 2017, 28,000 acres, 17 homes destroyed, another 19 damaged, and the city of Mayor is that close to being gone. Very, very close. So let's talk about the Yarnell fire. Everybody knows about it, especially if you lived around here at the time. Ignited by dry lightning in 2013, June 28th to be exact. On June 30th, the incident happened, and the 19 members were lost. There were a group of firefighters within the Prescott Fire Department. It was the deadliest wildfire ever, and still is, in the state of Arizona. Lost 127 buildings, Yarnell, 2 in Peoples Valley. One thing that isn't known very well, though, and probably should, is that we had a lot of people doing fire evacuation, banging on doors, going around trying to scoop people out of there as quick as possible. A lot of deputies were out there, roadblocks were set. We came very close to losing a lot of people. Nobody really knows about it, except those that were involved, and certainly the sheriff's office. Because of what happens is, you've got really 2 entities. You've got law enforcement, LE over here, and you've got fire over here. Fire is concerned about protection of and management of forests and forest products and such, primarily. Certainly other things as well. LE, protection of property and personnel. The 2 don't talk very well. And it's just the nature of the beast. Some are better, some are worse, sometimes personality driven and such. However, because of this situation, that's why I'm wearing red today. We established the Fire Observer Team in 2015, and let's see, I'm going to go to the next slide here, I think. Yeah. I helped establish that in 2015, and we've really refined it and developed it to a pretty tight organization. A couple, 3 of the fellow members are here right now. We're comprised of, organized for 12 highly trained individuals. Everybody gets sent through the Arizona Wildfire Academy up at Embry-Riddle every March. It's the same one that all the hotshots go through, all the fire people go through, not just the basic course. We also do a couple of other intermediate courses. There's like 30 or 40 courses that they offer, quite frankly. Good stuff. But we send everybody through that. During a wildfire event, then our folks are dispatched to various observation locations. We always go in 2-man team, 2 vehicles, 1 per vehicle, because of the obvious. If you're in an observation position, fire changes, starts coming at you, 1 vehicle doesn't want to start for whatever reason, it gets left and off you go in the other vehicle. First and foremost, people. I mentioned before, we act as the sheriff's eyes on the fire. So once we get established up there, we assess what's going on. We also listen to air attack, which are the guys circling overhead on their VHF frequencies, and some of the ground teams who listen to some of the chatter going on there. We never chatter with them, but information is invaluable. We are talking to the IC, radios, phones, satellite, depending on where we are, what we have. By the way, I'll digress a little bit on radio communications. There are also a number of, typically mountaintops around here, what they call repeaters. We work on a VHF frequency, usually in the 130 to 150 band, somewhere in there. We can talk line of sight. However, if you're on a repeater frequency, what happens is you transmit, goes up to a repeater, it retransmits on a different frequency to whoever wants to listen, whoever's on that frequency. That allows us a greatly expanded area of coverage for radio communications. Just as a summary here for what we've done, 2022, my favorite year, we had 15 wildfire incidents that we responded to. At one point, we had 3 different wildfires going on at the same time. And with my 12 people, we were stretched pretty thin. What we can do, and we have done in the past, is we'll draft some experienced search and rescue folks from the other units to act kind of as a wingman, if you will. Allows us to kind of double up our numbers. Over to you.
You're done with this?
I am done with that.
Okay. So monsoons. Monsoon floods in Arizona can happen suddenly and with tremendous force, turning dry washes and canyons into deadly torrents in minutes. These flash floods are extremely dangerous, capable of sweeping away vehicles, damaging infrastructure, and endangering lives with little warning. This search is a hard one for me. In July of 2021, 16-year-old Faith Moore was swept off of a low water crossing at 9 p.m. in Cottonwood. The search for her lasted for 4 days. For me, in all the years that I've been in search and rescue, this was the most impactful and the most emotional. Yes, sad because she was so young, but the community response in the Verde Valley was like nothing I'd ever seen. Hundreds of people came out every day for a 6 a.m. briefing and helped us search in sweltering heat, humidity, and relentless mud. Every time we came out of a wash or up to a road, there were people there with food and water for us and our dogs. It was incredible. The community compassion wasn't just for the day, it was every day. I'm going to do a quick summary of what happened. The initial 911 call and rescue attempt around 9:30 p.m., first responders arrived to assist her vehicle stranded in knee-high water. But before SAR could reach her vehicle, floodwaters surged to 8+ feet, sweeping Faith and her car downstream. Over 580 trained SAR personnel responded, not including command and admin staff, along with 1,000+ community volunteers. Agencies involved included local fire and police, Yavapai County Fire, police, SWAT, search and rescue, as well as county assists from Maricopa, Gila, Arizona National Guard, Department of Homeland Security, Arizona State Land Department, Arizona Rangers, and the Department of Forestry. We had drone teams. We had 4 thermal drones that flew over approximately 5 million square feet. Ground crews and canines used GPS tracking devices for systematic coverage. We had airboats, watercraft, and Black Hawk helicopters. I'm going to go back a slide because I want to point something out. This is the top left photo is the wash that she went off on. That little tent at the bottom of that picture is where her family was every day. The dog team, and actually one of the pictures later on, we had to go through there every day and walk by the family. It was heartbreaking. You can see the amount of people who showed up to help, and that's her car. That's what happened. Okay, let's go back to this. This is a big picture of the map, obviously. We've got so this is the wash. Yeah, thank you, the wash. And outside of the picture is where she went into the wash. And the confluence of the Verde is down here, also outside of the picture. You can see the tracks through there are dog units, or what other ground pounder units. The straight lines are probably drones or aircraft going over. And then up the top picture is just sort of a close-up of what we do when we track our searches. Yeah, this is the hard part. Not every search ends in the way we hope. Faith Moore's search was one of those heartbreaking outcomes that weighs heavily on everyone involved. As first responders, we do everything we can, but when the result is lost, it takes its toll. Processing that grief, supporting one another, and allowing space to heal are essential parts of the work that we do after the mission ends.
Oh. It's a reminder that resilience in this field isn't just physical, it's emotional too. And believe me, a lot of us were on that search.
Well, this is a fun picture. We've got Patty and Mark and Scout and Bull and me and a couple of other members. And this was one team, one day, or part of a day. But you could see the mud was relentless, and the emotion It's hard.
Bad news is this is not just this search. We're using this as an example. What we look for on these searches and what we pray for is we're walking back with a child in our arms or a live person. A lot of times it doesn't happen that way, and we get, it's what's called a recovery, and it's just part of the deal, and we have to bring out expired personnel that didn't make it. That tears you up. Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything she could have done or we would be able to do in that situation? She was in the
Don't drive into the wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water was already running, and she didn't know what she didn't know. And she thought it's just a little bit of water. And typically, when you're dealing with flood situations, just that much water could literally sweep you away, depending on the type and size car you have.
The wash that she went through was paved, so it made it
Right.
a little bit more slippery. Yeah. And she was only in knee-deep water and knew enough to stay where she was, but an 8-foot wall of water came down. When that 8-foot wall of water hit the Verde, the confluence of the Verde, there was so much power. The search dog unit, were down across the other side looking for her, which is where she was ultimately found. There were dead fish 8 to 12 feet up in the trees. That's just, it was incredible.
This wall of water on the wash that you saw in the previous, or saw at least the tracks in the previous slide, normally doesn't have water in it, quite frankly, and there are homes on both sides. It tore out 10-foot cement block walls. Trees this big around were just knocked out and taken out into nowhere. It's the power of water is just amazing. And just recently, Hunt, Texas, in Kerrville, same thing.
Yeah. All right, Bo, this is you.
This is me. Let's get it let's lighten up a little bit here. So one of the tools we have for on the flood situation, for the fire observer teams, but it also applies to all the units, all the teams, all the members, during flood situations. We'll get called out to do flood evacuations. I've been on plenty myself. One of the subspecialties that we've done, though, besides banging on doors trying to get people out before they get washed away, is we've established flood observation positions, whereas the fire observer team, but others can do it as well, but typically will be assigned to provide eyes on the flood situation upstream at a logical location, so that if there's further increase in water flow, we can give a heads up to the folks downstream that might be in harm's way and able to get out of the way in time to save themselves and hopefully anybody else that's down there. One of the tools that you may or may not be aware of are the flood gauges. You can't see it, it's on this side right here. There are at strategic points throughout Yavapai County, throughout the state, quite frankly, and other states, I'm sure, there are flood gauge measurement systems that send information, data, I think these days by satellite, to collection entities or agencies that keep track of the status of flood-prone zones, so they can have a heads up and hopefully have a chance to sound an alert and provide a level of security for individuals. These things are all over the state, as I said, along Verde River. I've tried to upload, I think 3 years ago, we were on the Agua Fria doing evacuations all the way down and trying to stay ahead. It was pretty crazy. Trying to stay ahead of the flood as it's coming down all the way. We started off in Red Rock and then worked our way down to Cordes, Black Canyon City, and down even further to New River. At Black Canyon City on the Agua Fria, where 17 goes over that dry wash, there's rarely any water in there. I took a video, a 10-second video, and that thing was raging. Brown water going like crazy underneath the bridge, and it can happen that fast. And we have watched walls of water previously in previous times coming down these streams and taking anything out that's in the way. One of the things we've done, this is, I think this is Willow and, Lynx, or Watson and Willow. We've established, and this is just a small section, little representative section, these little binos are established observation positions that are logical locations for us to be able to manage eyes on the flood situation and give that kind of heads up to folks. I could talk about this stuff forever, but that's pretty much in a nutshell what's going on. Yo,
Or
bottle
I
down.
can throw my water bottle.
There you go. Don't throw it at me, Corinne. All right, so what we've kind of talked about here, and we're going to open it up for questions. Like, you know, Corinne and I, or any of the folks here, can talk about this all day, every day. But we talked about the challenges of Yavapai County terrain and weather. You know, it goes from everything from tall, spiny mountains, ponderosas, down to junipers and oaks, down to flat grasslands, and even desert. Talked about the early search and rescue efforts, where it was pretty much just grab anybody, set up an old westy type posse, and go out and try to find somebody. Talked about the transition to modern technology, what we're able to access and utilize today, and also in the fire and flood business, how that affects what we do as search and rescue, and in my case, fire observer team. And also a look into the future for where we're going, where we've been, and hopefully we've been able to give you a little bit better feel for what's going on with Yavapai County Search and Rescue Team.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming.